Well, folks, here we are with the second half of our extravaganza today. So I'm going to hit you with a couple of quick things, and then I'm going to ask Dwayne a couple of questions.
Okay.
President Biden said in his campaign speech, his plan, the Green Infrastructure Program, would produce several million good-paying union jobs by the end of the decade. The administration very quietly reduced the new number of jobs to be created by the end of the year.
Okay.
From several million, the new number is 26,000.
That's a little bit of a reduction.
Can we ask for a recall on the election based on this fraud?
No,
No. Ay, ay, ay. Mayor Adams, this morning in New York City, is seeking $1 billion from the federal government.
For what?
For the 17,000 immigrants that have been bused to New York City.
17,000. He wants $1 billion. That's 1,000,000. That's quite a bit of money.
Yeah. And in fact, Fox did a little math and said, well, if 1 billion equals 17,000 people we can take care of, we've had 4 million illegal immigrants. The government is going to have to pony up $235 billion to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think the Biden administration is going to be able to sell that?
No,
No.
I don't think so. Have you? Well, you got a contract for your fuel oil, right?
Yeah.
All right, I was going to mention the Jones Act. It's a little-known act that was done in the 30s. It's for shipping. Any port, this is maritime shipping, that uses U.S. port to U.S. port has to, by law, use U.S. ships with U.S. crews with U.S. regulations.
U.S. flagged ships.
That's exactly right. The problem is, and we're running into that, my fuel oil dealer, all of them are, they can't get enough fuel into the depots like in Quincy and stuff because there's not enough ships anymore that are U.S. based.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, so they're asking the Northeast or whatever, the fuel dealers to waive that, at least for the winter, that we can get a fuel supply in there. Because they said that's what's keeping your fuel oil prices so high here. As you see the price of oil goes down, fuel oil prices don't do much. They stay there, and they said because we can't get it.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of our stuff comes down from Canada.
Yeah, some does, but a lot of comes out of the Gulf.
Yep.
It has to come up.
Yep.
Comes up the ship up the East Coast.
And of course we can't have pipelines.
Yeah, of course, that's what I mean. They said we can't get enough. There's not enough trucks or rail cars to do this. We need those big tankers coming in, but they're not there anymore.
Yep.
And a lot of them have gone to work with Ukraine and the grain shipments and stuff because they make a lot more money doing some of that stuff.
Money talks.
Yep. So he said that they're going to ask the administration to waive that. They don't think he will because now the maritime unions are saying, "Oh no, you can't do that.
Yep.
You'll be putting us out of jobs."
Yep. It really it's an amazing situation, and so many of our ships that formerly flagged U.S. Liberia.
Yeah.
So many of them.
Oh yeah, it's because it's easy.
Because
they got
it's
very
easy.
little,
Yeah.
very little regulation.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no regulation in Liberia. All you do is give them a pocket full of money.
Exactly.
And, you can do any damn thing you want. Here's an excerpt from the Army Officer's Guide of 1894. Enlisted men are stupid, but they are sly and cunning and bear considerable watching.
I don't doubt that was the attitude then.
Was the attitude not that many years ago when I was in the Army? So Generac generators, they've got 80% of the market in the country. And people say, well, we got to get them, in case we lose power and everything. Boy, electricity.
They're pricey.
Yeah. They run on propane or natural gas.
Natural gas.
Those are fossil fuels.
Of course they are.
Well, how are they going to do that when we go all green? How are those Generac babies going to work?
I guess you got to plug the generator into another outlet.
There you go.
And then that has to be generated by something else. That has to be generated, and in the end,
we're going to become a nation of extension cords.
Yeah, and then Dolphin's got to generate it at the end.
Oh, well, I knew there was an explanation. CBS, 2 years later, says the Hunter Biden laptop story is correct. They ignored the story for 2 years, 769 days.
I read the book.
And then just walked away from it. That was the end of it. CBS, no mea culpas, no explanations, just that blurb, and then they just walked away from it. So that's it. I guess you can, if we want, we can go out and shoot somebody this afternoon, and we'll just say, I shot him. And we'll just walk away from it, and that'll be the end of it.
The information that they had, and the information that came out in the book, was probably the poorest presented batch of information I've ever seen. Not that the contents of the book were bad. It's the promotion of the book.
Yeah.
First of all, they called it the note or the laptop from hell. Now that's just plain damn stupid.
It is.
If somebody walks by and sees, laptop from hell, I don't know, it's some kind of fiction, some kind of, maybe Stephen King wrote it, who knows. They don't even get a second look at it. It just was poorly promoted.
The whole thing is a cheap effort. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was there, 175 pages?
Yeah, it was only about this big.
Yeah. They wanted to get the facts out, I guess.
Was that your book I read?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They wanted to get the facts out, and they just slammed it out as fast as they could. Not a professional job. Now, I think, old news, okay? Mm-hmm. How did the pollsters get the midterm elections so wrong?
I have no faith in pollsters whatsoever.
Well said. I agree with you totally. They're, anytime you get somebody that does something like that for money.
Yeah. Who hired the pollsters?
They're suspect. Who is feeding the pollsters? Oh, that's the answer you want? Well, I think we can probably come up with that for you.
To run a poll that is, and I'm going to use the word unbiased, which is almost an impossibility to achieve. It would be so expensive.
Yeah.
We're talking millions and millions of dollars, because you'd have to take a sample of an unbiased here. New England would be different than
the Midwest.
Midwest, totally different than the central part of the country.
Deep South.
Deep South.
You'd have to,
and then the sample within the sample area. You have to be very careful that you don't get a bias in that.
That's right.
If you polled the yuppies in Norfolk, as opposed to someplace in Dorchester, you're going to get a total different.
Well, sure. I mean, you go down south, all right? There's a few progressive cities down there. Birmingham, Alabama, is coming into the 21st century gradually here. But if you go 50 miles outside to Tallahatchie or someplace like
God.
that,
Yeah.
I mean, you get into Redneck Central. Well, they're both there, and they're both the same sort of income brackets and all that. But they're two different worlds. It's the same thing up here, too. I mean, if you polled Massachusetts,
Oh my God.
and you said, well, okay, now, Maine is in New England, so we'll poll Maine also. Well, you're talking two different worlds. Two totally different worlds. So anyway, I wrote down these little quickies. How did the pollsters get this so wrong? Abortion was a dominant reason. It was misunderstood, the whole abortion question. That's another story for another day.
Yeah, you know why? Any topic or subject that has a high emotional content to it or attachment to it, you're going to get skewed one way or another.
And this ads they were running that the Republicans have taken away our right to abortion, their right to control our body. The Republicans didn't do that. They said the law that you people passed this right to privacy, this whole process was unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even the Democrats admit that was true. But it's been there, it's been established for 50 years. Well, if we had slavery for 50 years, the rationale was, well, it's established, it's been there. We can't change it. These justices were asked the constitutionality of the process that took place that guaranteed the woman's right to privacy.
Plus, anytime the subject matter is highly emotional, rationality goes out the window.
Absolutely. Out the nearest window.
Yeah, out the nearest window.
Yep. Gen Z, 20 to 24-year-old layabouts, receiving all kinds of money for staying home, and they want college loan forgiveness and free college tuition going forward. They only could vote Democrat.
Yep. That whole thing is buying votes, pure and simple.
Pure and simple.
That's all that is.
Absolutely is buying, and it's obscene.
Yeah, well, of course it is.
While unsaid, lingering below the surface was the specter of white male privilege, which drives some women to the Dems.
Hell, you and I could get elected president if we could make these promises that say they could make them come true.
Yeah.
Well, we could say, Cadillacs for everybody, Lexus, whatever you want. Everybody gets a new car. Everybody gets a no house payment, no rent, no nothing.
Everybody gets a second house on the Cape or Martha's Vineyard.
Wherever
Your
you want.
choice. Boy, the Cape is going to get crowded as hell. The specter of Donald Trump elbowing his way to the dinner table, as it were. I think the people, that may be the number one reason, is him interjecting himself into this. That man's ego is bigger.
It's killing the regular Republicans. You and I, our party is getting killed by this kind of crap.
And finally, the loss of respect for police and law and order. There's more of the burn it down mentality than we think.
And unfortunately, some of the GOP have fallen into that trap. Did you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene this week?
No, but she's crazy.
If she had been leading this, she would have been armed and there wouldn't have been 40 policemen hurt. There would have been hundreds of them dead. I mean, this is a party that's supposed to be for the blue. I mean, the cops are going, what the hell are you talking about? We're not the enemy.
I tell you, there's just things that I just don't understand.
Well, one of my predictions here fits with that.
Yep.
Trump influence will fade this year, I think.
Oh, good. I'm all for that. But you know what? That man will sabotage the Republican Party because they won't nominate him.
That's
so
right.
He said, "The hell with you! You're all going down the
yeah.
drain."
It's-
And if you won't, if you're that stupid,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're going to bypass me, you deserve to lose.
That's right. I'll take.
Yeah.
I'll burn everything in my path.
That's right.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, that's the mentality that he has.
Yep. He's got a big announcement he's going to come out with either today or tomorrow.
Today? Okay.
Yeah, that ought to be really great.
But, it's just too bad too because he had potential.
He had the plans.
Yeah.
He had the intellect.
It's like some got a worm in his brain or something that he went nuts on.
By the way, they did a poll of potential college students getting their loan forgiven,
Yeah.
and they polled 800 of them or so. What are you going to spend
Oh, I
your
can imagine.
$10,000 on?
Yeah.
Travel
Yeah.
and dining out.
Yeah. It's play stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what college is teaching them, the responsibility of a...
Well, that's the me generation right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I want, and it's not no delayed gratification. It has to be instant. I don't.
Instant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to wait till I graduate, or I don't want to wait 10 years down the road. I want it now.
Yeah.
It's just a me generation. It's something that you and I never grew up with.
No. Yeah.
We save for something if we wanted it. We
Yes.
put $5 a week away something, or whatever it was, whatever proportionate. But we knew that we weren't going to be able to get it today or tomorrow or maybe 5 years from now.
Back when I first started work, when I was 19,
Yeah.
first real job I had a savings bond. I had like $9 a week taken out, so that every other week I'd get a savings bond. Total $18.75 or whatever it was. And I was saving money. I had a fistful of the damn things. Kids don't do that.
No. You know,
It's
my son graduated from college, and he's pretty level-headed, and he got a degree in microbiology, and he was buying a car. So, and I know he was starting out, even those days, they start out kind of a position starts out with pretty good money. So I said, would you go with me he never bought a car. I said, yeah, well, of course I'm going to go with you. But we get to a car dealer. He's not looking at the standard models here. He wants the GTs back there with the big tires and all the. Well, he said, I just spent 4 years in college. I busted my hump getting a degree. I said, you may have, but you're not ready for that. And so we went back, and Monica and I sat down with him, and we did lie a little bit. You know how you got to fudge your point a bit. We said, all right, we're going to draw up a budget. Your income's here. And we're going to haul the expenses: housing, food, clothes, entertainment, loans. And he got going down. He says, I haven't got anything left. No kidding, Greg.
wow.
That's the real world.
Yeah, an interesting little tidbit too along those same lines is Patrick. Was it Patrick? One of the kids was looking at a car, and I said, "Well, they're not going to float you the whole loan."
Yeah,
I fibbed.
I know.
I said, "But you got to give them 20% down." Oh, well, wait a minute. 20% of $15,000 is $3,000. I don't have $3,000. You can't afford the car.
Bingo, then you can't buy the car.
That's right.
No, that's what we got to know. I even had one dealer come out. She said, it was a woman. She says, he's looking at that Mustang, something with a Rail Roche option, 500-600 horsepower. She's, That's not a car for him. He's not. She says that's not a kid car. That's too
No.
powerful. Don't let him. If I were you, I wouldn't let him even look at those.
Yeah. That's like the Dodge Viper.
Yeah,
I mean, they said this is for the track. Don't try to drive this car on the street.
correct. That's
And yet, they'll sell it to him. Mm-hmm. If he came in with the money, they'd give it to him.
she would have.
It's like a death trap. For 2021 drug deaths in this country, opioid, 71,000.
Yep.
Get a load of this one, though. Methamphetamines, from no place to 33,000.
But the good news today in the Globe, fentanyl deaths are down
Oh, wow.
considerably. Either the reckless ones have died, or else they're finally getting the idea that this is nothing to be
Wow.
casually screwing around with.
Wow. Because meth is
Meth,
skyrocketing.
meth is another story
Yeah.
again.
Meth affects you differently. I was reading about it. It puts you in a happy place.
Yeah, and hyper too. You're just-
Yeah, it just.
It's extremely addictive.
Oh, it is.
And
Yeah.
quick
Yes,
addiction.
indeed. Yeah. You can't live without it.
You watch Breaking Bad, you get a whole new respect for methamphetamine.
By the way, what percentage of the U.S. has a positive view of cryptos? This is recent.
General, the whole U.S. 5, 10,
8%.
8. Well, it's right in the middle,
Yep.
right around it. I know. We said this before. I don't understand. I don't understand the attraction to it.
Dwayne, you're absolutely right. I don't. People in Philadelphia are afraid to go shopping because of the rampant shoplifting and retail crime. It's up 51% year to date. People are shopping online. Crimes with guns are up 31% in Philadelphia. And Walgreens has closed 2 stores in downtown Philadelphia.
Yep.
And Walmart, Target, Best Buy, CVS, and Rite Aid are the targets of all these gangs. Do we hold people accountable for their behavior?
No,
Arrest,
we do
prison?
not.
Or do we forgive them because they claim they deserve this stuff? It's a cultural issue, and we better face it, because unchecked, it will only get worse. What happens when the stores have to close and the criminals move to the white suburbs? Then watch the phony white liberals scream, calling for the police, the armed guards, the Marines, the Texas Rangers. They'll call for everybody.
The poor areas lose their grocery store because
Yeah.
they steal so much from them
That's
that
right.
they can't stay in business.
That's right.
And then they say, well, it's racist. You just want to take that store out to the white section. Well, we put it in your area and you stole it blind. So what are we going to do? But a lot of this can go back at somebody's feet. And you know who she is, Rachel Rollins. She has got a lot of responsibility in this problem. She would not, wouldn't prosecute shoplifting. That's not a crime.
No. They need this
need that.
stuff.
After all, well, if they
They
don't need
don't
it,
have
they see it,
any.
other people have it, so they think they got to have it too.
They deserve it.
They deserve it.
They're citizens.
And the failure to punish to the point it gets ridiculous. You remember this in the paper? Well, it's in the Sun Chronicle. Attleboro man caught with stolen converters gets bike back, but not the saw. He had been going around, this shady-looking character, cutting
Catalytic
converters
out
off.
of cars, yeah. Well, that's a pretty popular pastime.
Oh, yeah. And he had a motorbike. He got caught. Again. Not the first time. That's what really corks you here. He got caught. The judge took his saw away, his battery saw, but they said no. He can keep his motor scooter.
He's got to get back and forth to work.
Well, he's got to get back. You know, how is he going to get the next converter if he doesn't?
Yeah.
Here's the pisser of it. 2018. 2019. Also caught cutting converters off.
Well,
Each time, probation.
yeah. When the judge took the saw away from him,
He thought that was...
did the judge think that this pervert couldn't find another saw someplace?
that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's going to stop him.
Yeah.
He's already a 3-time loser.
So that judge should be defrocked.
Well, his name is in the paper. But, you know, who will? They get
Unbelievable.
lifetime appointment.
All this stuff is a cultural issue.
Yep.
And, well, we can't do anything about it.
No
Because they're-
restitution, no nothing. Just
That's right.
take his saw away.
Yeah. Take his sorrow away. God help us and save
Then
us.
he'd go to Home Depot and steal a new one.
Does anybody pitch horseshoes anymore?
I haven't seen a horseshoe pitch since I was in Vietnam. Some of these goobers had them, and they were good.
Yeah.
You never want to play them for money.
I haven't seen anybody pitching horseshoes.
I don't think a young person would know what it is.
No. And there's not that many horses around
You know, they make rubber ones now.
Here's another good one. Humdinger. You never hear that expression anymore. So I looked it up. It was first used in a newspaper article in the Daily Enterprise, June 4th, 1883, at Livingston, Montana. They think it's a combination of hummer and dinger,
Which means?
something that's outstanding, something that moves fast. Yeah. Whew. Well, anyway. Okay. Now, here's something I think we can talk about at length. But first of all, just one more thing. Charlie Munger is 98 years old. He is a Warren Buffett's partner. And Charlie is beautiful. He tells it like it is.
We didn't care.
Nope. So he gave some pointers recently. A happy life is simple. The first rule of a happy life is well-managed, low expectations. That is something you can easily arrange. If you have an unrealistic expectations, you're going to be miserable all your life. Also, when you have reversals, you just suck it up and cope. That helps if you don't stew yourself with a lot of misery. And then, the 3 things to avoid, the 3 problems that you find in life:
Yep.
liquor, ladies, and leverage. Leverage meaning borrowing.
I thought you said problems.
Charlie's-
The last one, maybe.
Charlie says to avoid the 3 L's.
No cheapers. That's how he got so old, but he's so bored out of his mind, he didn't know what to do.
He's beautiful. You know, Dwayne, I came across something in a newspaper, and I said, this doesn't sound right to me. They listed the causes of divorce. And I said to myself, because 45% of the marriages end in divorce.
I know, it's about half. They don't last.
So I said to myself, this simply doesn't seem like it's right. So they listed in the paper in this article 5 causes. Infidelity, cheating on your spouse.
Okay.
That's number 1.
I could probably do.
Lack of intimacy, sex, and love. is number
Okay,
2.
that's reasonable.
Number 3, communication. Lack of good communication. Number 4, money.
Yeah, that's a
Number 5, addiction. Either to alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't like these. I didn't like the order they were in.
Okay.
So I went to two I went to Google.
Okay.
And I picked out 2 from somewhat, from a batch of them that looked like they were done by adults.
Mm-hmm.
Hickey and Hull Law Partners. Number 1, adultery. Number 2, money issues.
Yeah, I
Now
think
you
money
see
is
that?
up there
Yeah,
higher.
that's why I always put money as number 1.
Yeah.
But number 3, communication issues. Yeah, that's number 4, addiction. And number 5, and I think this is probably higher, simply falling out of love. No single huge problem, but the death of 1,000 cuts. Maybe from getting married too young, or not knowing one another long enough.
You know, and there's another factor. It wasn't in your listing, but I have read, I have heard of other people, friends of ours that have gotten divorced, and I don't know if they're telling you this or not, but it goes back to the sort of a Me Too generation. I want what I want, and I don't feel satisfied or fulfilled in this relationship anymore because I'm not completely happy with it. I don't feel whole.
That could work both ways. Guys
of course.
can be just as
Oh, absolutely. It's both sides.
Yeah, I see that both ways because you're right. A friend of mine that got into a knockdown drag-out with his wife because he wanted to spend $15,000 to join a golf club.
Yeah.
That was the initiation. And then it was $12,000 a year after that. And she said, I'm trying to hold a family together
Yeah,
here
right.
with
And
3 kids, and you're going to blow. Go play on a public course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
see,
you're right. I think that's true. Yeah.
You and I have been married a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years you've been.
51.
We're going 54.
There you go.
But it's not.
It's the art of compromise.
Yeah, and when you're married that long, it's not like, it's not some Hollywood romance anymore. It's,
Yep.
and sometimes, we go, I'm going to bed or I'm going out reading in the other room, well, go ahead, I don't care.
Yeah.
But you stay married that way.
That's right.
We
You
don't
do.
kill each other,
That's right.
and we don't smother each other.
I had another friend who him and his wife you would swear were Siamese twins.
I know the scenario. Yep.
Yep. And if you said, hey, guess what? After the softball game tonight, we're going to go over to the bar and have a few beers. He actually said, why don't I call my wife and maybe I can swing by and pick her up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A bunch of sweaty, dirty guys drinking draft beer and swearing and cussing about the way the damn game ended up.
And telling lies.
And he's got to bring Alice to the party.
Yeah. I know. There's some that cannot do it. They can't get separated from each other.
Now, the other divorce study was updated on December 7th of 2022. It's hot off the press.
Yep.
Number 1, too much conflict, arguments. Number 2, lack of commitment. I'm not sure what that's all about.
That's kind of a catch-all.
I'm
there.
trying to work on this marriage and you're not, or some
Yeah, I don't.
crap
That's
like
got
that.
so many facets to it.
That's vague. Infidelity is number
Yeah,
3.
that comes in there.
Number 4, lack of intimacy again, and sex and emotional needs. Number 5, communications or lack thereof. Number 6, domestic violence, abuse in the household.
That's a problem with some
That is a
relationships.
problem. Yes.
And in both ways.
Oh yeah, I knew a guy that well, he was a beauty. But he'd have a few beers at night and maybe fall asleep in front of the TV after about 7 cans of beer. She'd burn him with cigarette butts. I think that's domestic violence.
It certainly is.
Opposing values or morals. A woman's right to choose, religious differences, cultural and background differences. I can see that.
Yeah, if you're really,
Maybe I
if
think
you're really
it's down
strong
where,
about some of that
yeah,
stuff.
I think it's probably down about where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Addictions, alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex. That should probably be higher.
Yeah.
No romance or love. It's gone. One spouse not doing his or her share. Yeah, that could be. Financial problems and debt. In 11th place. Baloney. That needs to be up around 1
Yeah.
or 2.
That relates to money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Marrying too young. Lack of shared interests. So, this is,
If you look
I
at
think
that
this
last
is a,
one,
yeah.
we don't have a whole lot of shared interests. She doesn't care for the stuff that I like to do, and I don't care for the stuff that she likes to do. But you go do yours, and I'm going to do mine.
That's exactly right.
and we get along fine
Yeah.
with it.
And so do we. I mean, Susie is a big quilter.
Yeah.
I mean, she is quilting, and when she's not quilting, she's talking quilting. And when she's not doing that, she's on the iPad watching more demonstrations about. I mean, there must be 5 million quilting websites that
Oh, I
she
think
hasn't
so.
seen yet. And
Yeah.
she's working her way through them. And I'll sit and read a book.
Yeah, exactly. But
Now, what could be nicer than that when you stop and think about it? I mean, do we have to be doing something together? We raised 3 kids.
yeah.
You know, we had plenty of togetherness. She enjoys that. I enjoyed trapping.
Yeah.
Or I enjoyed fishing. Or I enjoyed doing this. But
We used to go to NASCAR races, the big ones, you know.
yeah,
I'd go to watch race. She'd take a book. She had no idea what's going on because she's reading. She doesn't care what.
I had season tickets to the Bruins for
Yep.
30 years. Went in longer than that, but I sat in the same seats for 30
Yep.
years eventually when I was smart enough to get season tickets. And guy beside me was from Norfolk, of you know, 13,909 people.
Yeah, and you've got
I had the aisle seat on the end. He had the aisle seat on the other way of the walkway.
yep.
Come to find out after talking to him one night, he lives in Norfolk. I didn't know him. His wife used to bring a book to every game
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
and sit and read while he watched the hockey game. Why didn't she stay home?
No idea. I know Monica wasn't going to stay home from the NASCAR race because they were probably in Richmond, Virginia, or someplace nice that she wanted, or Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. I don't know. But I think we've probably covered just about all the reasons for
Yeah, oh,
divorce.
yeah.
But I think that it's tough to get them exactly in order without.
I don't think you can. I think
I don't
there's
think you
so many
can.
variations of that and so
But-
many combinations of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the inability to communicate, I think that money problems, and I think tension. And one of the things that wasn't here really was tension around the kids. He's messed up with this. She's doing this. And the little buggers can cause problems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, so anyway,
Just an aside.
yes,
This
let's
week,
have it.
this week there was an announcement, kind of brushed over a little bit, and it's nothing totally new, but the word fusion came up again.
I have an article about that in
That
here.
is, people don't realize that it could be the biggest thing in mankind has seen since the fire and wheel.
Well, at least through Lady Chatterley's ride through.
Yeah. The implications, if this works out, we'll never see it. You and I are too damned old.
Right.
But 30 years from now, who knows? They've actually supposedly the problem with fusion was it always we could do it, but it took more energy to produce it than it
Then
was
you
producing
got out
coming
of
out
it.
the other end.
But now they've got it so an amount of energy is required, and you get more
yeah.
energy out the other end. Once this is refined, a lot of problems could go.
A lot of things are changed. A lot of the problems of the greenie people will be happy. But you know who's not going to be happy? Iran, Venezuela,
Yeah. Well,
Saudi Arabia.
You know, I think that we could live with gas-powered cars if we could solve the other
Yep.
pollution problems.
Yes.
And I still believe that like the hybrids, we could modify that and refine that somehow or other. You know, companies don't really want to do that because it'll be selling less product.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the incentive for them, you know?
I tried to explain to somebody, we both know her, the difference between fusion and fission. I don't think I was too successful. I probably don't know enough to. But
Well, you know what? It's a subject that I think we're going to start to hear a lot
oh,
about.
absolutely.
And when you talk about game changers, this could be the same as the wheel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I explain. Do you know that the energy ratio to matter is 1 with 17 zeros behind it?
Really?
Write out 17 zeros and see what that is.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
More than I make a year.
Oh, God, yeah. But it's huge.
Yeah.
But to control it is how they will overdo it. I don't know. This is supposed to be done with laser, and
We've got to get back to nuclear fuel, nuclear energy, for the next 30 years. And we have got to continue to watch our P's and Q's as far as vehicles are concerned. But I can't see us ruining an industry like the petroleum industry. It'd be a hell of a lot better if we could find ways to
Yeah.
clean it up.
well, fusion would not eliminate
That's right.
oil.
No.
No, because you still oil, the fuel part of the oil is a chunk of it, but there's so much ancillary production
Absolutely.
from it, from
Just plastic.
plastics alone
Yeah.
and chemicals and
Yeah.
fertilizers and
Medicine.
medicines. I mean,
Pills.
those still would be.
Yeah.
You take that barrel of oil, it would just they just shift the use of her.
People don't understand that, but a barrel of oil that sells for $77,
Yeah, whatever.
I think, this morning, only yields 35 gallons of gasoline.
Yeah.
But there's other goop in there.
Oh, absolutely.
All right? that comes out of there. All kinds of other things they refine
Yeah,
out.
further
and
down
so-
your refining process, the heavier, the gookier, as you call it, gookier gets, and you end up with some big old thick axle grease someplace on the bottom.
Yeah. And there's and I forget what it was, but there was a whole list of things, not uncommon things
Yeah.
that come out of a
Absolutely.
barrel of oil. Yeah. I get a couple of these, Dwayne, that I've been aging for too long.
All right, well, let's pull them out and show them a little sunlight.
Women must be included in the formation of priests, says Father Zollner. Can you envision the Catholic Church allowing female priests?
Can I envision them allowing or should?
Well, I guess both.
Number one, should, I agree, yes. I think it's absurd not to.
Yeah.
And
You know,
until-
and somebody said, well, how can we call her father? Well, we'll change it to pastor. How's that?
Everybody else
Gee
does.
whiz.
Yeah, that's not insurmountable.
Yeah, I mean, jeepers, creepers, that is an absurd argument.
That's right. You know, we as a group look at Islam and say, well, women got status of higher than a goat but less than a camel. But our own church won't allow, well, some they do now, but they at one time they couldn't do anything.
Right,
But
right. But they're altar boys now.
Yeah,
They read the Bible.
but I mean,
They're
they still don't
communicants.
let them get to the
The
to actually be part of the ceremony. So I don't know what you call it, but
And to say that it's because Jesus was a man.
yeah, well,
He founded the church. Seems to me to just deny the fact that progress exists, and we look at things differently. We're not talking about turning everything upside down,
no.
but we need priests. And by the way, I've got no problems with married priests.
Oh, me neither. I think that should be one of the
Yeah,
first.
I mean, this business about not being able to marry is,
It's,
yes, it's going to be more expensive. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can work around that. We can figure a way around that.
well, that's one of the reasons that they don't get married.
Right.
Is back in the old days, someplace that they didn't. A bishop and a priest, they didn't just have a parish. They owned a lot of that land.
Yeah.
And that was part of the church's fortune. And then they had, because, you know, some of them old popes, they were married.
Yep. Oh, yes.
And then all of a sudden the wife was making claim to some of they said, oh, no, we're not going to allow that, no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, divorce gets a little muddy.
Yeah.
And that's why this is an issue that we don't need to jump into this. But by gosh, we ought to start walking into it.
Yeah, we gotta stop separating economic and secular values. Stop putting a religious spin on them.
Yeah.
Because they're not religious. They're made into religious, but they're not. 10 mil.
And to sum up, I read this, but I didn't remember this. Father Zollner, the last paragraph. I see some change, but as I said before, I don't think there is a quick fix, especially if we look at the church as a whole. He's probably right. That probably just about sums it up. But you know what? A move in that direction is needed.
Yeah, because for what I'm not. You're more religious than I am. I'm not a real religious person, but religious. You see what's happening as an organization. There's a lot of conflict within itself. Yeah. There's a conservative group that fighting like hell with what's his name, Francis.
Yep.
to make any changes. He doesn't have. I always thought he was the ultimate head, and he just
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do. No, he's got to go through all kinds of.
He's not a strong pope.
No,
No, and I think
he's
that
not
was part of
dictatorial. I think is what it is.
I think he was part of the his appeal was the fact that I can get along with everybody, and I'm not going to rock the boat
Yeah,
and do
exactly.
crazy stuff. And now, I do have a couple more things here I really want to talk about, and secrecy lifts for donor-conceived children.
Oh, okay. We had just got the 10, by the
Oh,
way.
we got 10?
Yeah.
All right, we'll quickly march through this. And they talked to some kids whose father was not able to conceive.
Okay.
So the mother got a sperm donation, and these kids were born. Well, there's a big wrestling match about when you tell the child that daddy is daddy to you, but daddy didn't conceive you.
Yeah, exactly.
And they say, well, who did? And I don't want to marry my cousin or something. And this one guy that has, in a fairly small territory, they found out, has conceived 71 kids.
Yeah, I read something about
Yeah.
that.
So one girl said she was told 4 years ago at the age of 18. And she was upset about that because her mother had long intended to tell her, but she never found the right time. In other words, her mother wasn't going to tell her. This other one was told back when she was about 3. How the hell do you tell a kid that's 3?
You don't.
I mean, that's stupid.
They don't.
They don't
they
even
have no
understand
concept of that.
conception.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they talk about the problems that the kids have looking for who their father was, biological. And the therapy, the therapists make a lot of money off this.
Absolutely. I think some of them create the problem
Themselves.
that wasn't there.
You know, instead of getting down on their knees and thanking God that somehow or other they were conceived,
Yeah.
and to make the best of it, instead they want to look on the downside of the whole thing and
Yeah.
say, what if I have a kid with 2 heads that's green? You know, One more. Well, the Herald has really
Herald.
gone
Right-
off the deep end.
Oh, they have. No. 5, Bill.
I got to tell you
Bill,
something. Okay.
5. Yeah.
Maya Wu.
Yeah.
Maya Wu finds her way into practically every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
She is, honest to God, if a dog buried a bone in somebody's backyard, she'd be there
there.
to get a picture in the paper when the owner of the property dug the bone up. And by the way, here's the story too, an entire page, okay? With things like the slums, racial problems, ecology, crime, the educational system self-destructing, motor vehicle traffic, drugs, ocean pollution, a corrupt partisan legislature enslaved by the patronage system, rat infestation, homelessness, mass and caste people living on the sidewalks, dying of drug ODs, shootings on the streets, people dying. Instead of a big article about that, you know what she's concerned about? Home rule,
Yeah.
which means you have to live in Boston if you work for the city of Boston. And the Herald, rather than talking about all of this, look at the size of the article they wrote. I mean, this absolutely is absurd. This is what this mayor's all about. Never mind these things are icky. I don't know what to do about these things.
Those things you could almost, any major city in the United States, that's the list.
And get along. And here's my biggest bitch, okay? This little lady ran for this office.
That's
she
right.
wanted it.
Wanted the job.
All right?
Nobody
Well,
ever forced the job on these
exactly
people.
Right. She wasn't chosen by a lottery and installed.
No
against her
judge
will.
ordered her to sit in that seat.
Yeah. And so, look, sweetheart, you wanted the job.
You got it.
Here's the problems. How about getting going on these?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I cleaned up mass and casts.
mo-
it was.
You moved the problem is all
Yeah,
you
you
did.
moved the problem, and then the problem reappeared about a week afterwards.
Too.
Well, I got rid of 2 or 3 of the things I wanted to talk about.
We're making progress.
But the next one now, this will be a tease for everybody. Lack of wind pushes up cost of electricity in England.
Yeah, that's gonna.
If the wind doesn't blow,
Yep.
how is this great big windmill going to work?
It's not.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of people standing below it, blowing on it.
Gee, we didn't think of that.
Yeah, you see, they shouldn't. Prisoners shouldn't be just sitting in a cell doing nothing. They should be out there blowing on the windmill. Used to piss off a couple of liberal friends of ours. I said, the trouble with prisons, they just let them sit there. They ought to. Well, what do you think they should? I said, well, they ought to put treadmills in there, and 8 or 10 hours a day, make them run on the treadmill and generate electricity.
Do you know, in Norfolk,
Yeah.
we have 2 prisons. Norfolk Prison and Walpole. Okay, Walpole is about 3/4 in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a big prison population. They are willing to come up and clean up the roads, the streets. Okay, they do down in Walpole. Okay, can't do it in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Union objects,
Yeah.
taking our jobs away. Well, okay.
Bristol County, the sheriff used to have the roadside gang, or roadside group cleaning the roads. Some group like the ACLU said, "Oh no, that's reminiscent of the old chain gangs from down in Louisiana." And the guys liked to get out there and do it.
They loved it.
They got out in fresh air and the
Yeah.
sunshine and
Yeah, and they acted almost like they were human beings again. That's got to be much better than sitting
my.
in the cells. Either that or out in the yard. And out in the yard, one group is over there, one
Yeah.
group is over there, the white guys are
you
over
know
there.
damn well there's no mingling or they kill each other.
That's exactly right. So you have to join the gang.
Yep.
Because if you try to be independent and just walk around, you're going to be walking around dead.
That's right.
On that note, on that cheery
Very
note,
happy note.
we want to wish everybody a happy and joyous Christmas.
And a happy New Year if we don't see you
And
then.
a happy and prosperous New
Yep.
Year. So, on that note, folks, enjoy the season.
Be safe.
Be safe. Stay warm. And we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.